What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of WANK, the weekly AEW news kick. I started that a little bit like a Twitch streamer. What's up, guys? It's your boy Tom, joined as always by my Deutsch friend Patrick. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, it's your boy Patrick from the north. No, that sounds really weird.
It's your boy,
like,
Skinny Penis. Yeah, that vibe.
Skinny Penis. skinny P. That fits because I'm Patrick, so.
And we are also joined by a man who is a nail in the ass and a pretty pink bow away from a starring role in the next Winnie the Pooh movie. It's Hugh.
Hey.
The joke is that you're Eeyore.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely Eeyore. I've got big Eeyore energy, bro.
Anyone who has tuned in before, a few podcasts ago, I can't remember, no, was it our Patrick? I can't pronounce the name of the episode that Hugh was on last. Can you do the honours?
Röhrenfernseher.
There we go. Röhrenfernseher. Was the last time you may have heard Hugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at least 4 ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, you may have forgotten that Hugh has a podcast called Western Bias.
Yeah, I do.
He I don't think he really mentioned it last time.
No, I didn't mention it enough, basically. It's definitely how I feel about that.
We obviously don't have Jack this week. He is
No
busy.
one cares.
Yeah.
Really.
Whatever. I think I took a little bit of my Jack bullying out on Hugh then.
The good thing is now, like, because we say no one cares and so on, then when he's listening, he's like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Just sat there. Oh.
Because he's editing it without being here. That's so good.
I'm so excited to listen to my guys' podcasts. I get to listen to it as a spectator this time. Oh.
Yeah, well, maybe
Don't even
I
have to be there to
have
get
to
dunked
prepare
on.
my ginger drink,
Yeah,
ginger
but
ale.
That is the price you pay if you just, like, don't show up, you know?
Because
you
as we know,
picked
gingers
on.
have to drink ginger ale to survive.
I thought they had to drink Iron Brew.
I think Iron Brew is what causes the ginger, and then ginger ale is what
It's also what causes diabetes in
I
Scotland.
was just about to say it's like diabetes, and ginger ale is like the insulin. Anyway, that's a bizarre conversation. As always, we start with any news regarding AEW to begin with. It's not really breaking news or anything big, but has anyone played the AEW Casino game that came out?
No.
No.
Is it good?
Don't. No.
Yeah, no, I
it's someone. So I can't remember who it was. It might have been Liam, who told me it's literally a completely different game with nothing to do with AEW that's already out on the market, and all they've done is changed the loading screen. I'm like, oh, he's being facetious, obviously. Like, they won't have released it and all they've done is change... No, all they've done is change the loading screen. It's just you get a loading screen of, like,
yeah,
Sting
right.
and...
It's completely the same game. It's just the loading screen, and I was in it actually just for a second or so. It's not really good. Like I deleted it immediately.
It's got nothing to do with AEW when you go on it.
Nothing.
Like there's nothing. He's not being facetious. He's not exaggerating. There's nothing on there AEW whatsoever. Like it's just a casino game with like random like Viking slots or something like, you know, theme slots and stuff like that, and then. It's just the icon on the homepage and the loading screen is AEW, and then it's nothing to do with a wrestling company. It's bizarre.
You say it doesn't have even like slots with the Young Bucks in it?
Nope, it doesn't have Young Buck slots or anything like that, which it's literally... Once it boots up,
oh my God.
You would have no idea you're in an AEW game.
Dude,
it's so weird.
Imagine if when they release the actual wrestling game, it's just like SmackDown versus Raw, but they've got creator wrestlers of the AEW guy, and that's it.
I have to imagine that they were paid for a substantial amount of money to do this. It was just like a sponsorship sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Put your name to it, and because there's no way someone like
Aubrey made.
There's no way she was involved in developing this
before, so.
This is but there is no way this is what they wanted. There is no way I'll refuse to accept it. Go and play it, Hugh, just so you can see what I mean. Don't play it. Just boot it up.
I don't really want to play it, but maybe I'll check it out
download
just
it.
to complain about it. You know,
download it. Get past the loading screen. You'll see
it sounds like I don't know. It sounds like maybe they were like, okay, we will make your wrestling game, but you have to put your branding on our casino game on the App Store or something like that. You know,
there is definitely some sort of There's definitely some sort of deal gone on here. This isn't the game they wanted to make. 100%.
You know, like when an actor makes one really, really commercial film, and then the next one he comes out is always about like heroin and in the working class. It's like that, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So based on that, I expect the next one to be fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean? Because the cash they got for selling out, and it really is selling out, straight up selling out, 100%. Let's launch into this week's AEW Dynamite. First off, we opened the show, that's right, opened the show with Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill and Shaq. Before we launch into it, I want to say I think it's absurd this is Jade Cargill's debut, based on how I literally forgot she'd never wrestled in AEW before because of how much they bigged her up. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the fact that she came in and got straight into a feud with a top star. I literally went, is it her AEW debut? Oh yeah, I've never seen her wrestle before. I think something in my brain just assumed I had based on how they've been promoting her.
It's literally what we were saying to each other when we were watching it. Like, really, like, did she ever wrestle before? Did we see her before? Like, really?
Yeah.
She's definitely not been on Dark, then.
No,
she
well, I just assumed she
Dark.
had because this was her AEW debut.
What?
It's so weird.
Wow,
It's so weird.
okay.
That being said, were you surprised this was the first match of the night, Patrick?
Definitely, because they built it up so much. I was thinking it might be a main event or so. Maybe it was a program decision that they're putting this match first because people won't stay until the end. But in the end, it's not smart if you want to keep people interested into the product to keep tuning in more. But I was surprised, yeah, definitely, that it was the opening.
Here's my theory: is that this match has no Revolution ramifications, and this is the go-home show to Revolution. So I figure they would want to put... And I've also got a theory that, normally in a pay-per-view go-home show, you'd have the main event people end the night. You know what I mean? Have like a face-off between Mox and Kenny. But I've got a theory that they're shielding because of COVID to preserve that main event. Because if someone comes down with COVID, a few days before, even with the precautions they've got in place, that's going to completely ruin their main event at Revolution. That's the one match they can't afford to, so Kenny wasn't on TV, neither was Mox Tool this week. So that's my theory about why...
Right. I was actually wondering why they were not on TV and just a big package.
It's just a theory,
show,
but that's what I'm
I
it's
think
probably
that's a
the
good
case.
point, so...
Yeah. So they had to end the show, and because it was a go-home show for a pay-per-view, I guess they felt they had to end the show with a story that was going to be, be a factor on the pay-per-view, whereas Cody and Shaq, it's his own thing. It's not to do with Revolution. So I assume that's why they ended with what they ended with, even though I still think there might have been a better segment they could have ended with. But that's to come at the end. Yeah. Thoughts on this match overall, though? Hugh, let's come to you.
Actually, thought it was a good match.
Yeah, me too.
I've not seen Jade Cargill wrestle, not seen Red Velvet wrestle. Good match. It was a little bit though of a pretend tag match.
Yeah,
I mean, 80% of the wrestling was done by those two. Like, I'm not, like Shaq would do a big spot against Cody, they'd tag out, and then like Jade and Red Velvet would take over and do most of the work. But I thought, genuinely, between those two, Red Velvet and Jade Cargill, really good match. Like,
yeah, Red Velvet specifically for me stood out. I
also think, to be honest, Shaq he was more impressive than I expected him to be, which is a low bar. But like, he's a great athlete and everything, but he's 50, and he did pretty well, but it was a lot of, he did one massive move and now he's gone, which, to be fair, he's not a pro wrestler and he is quite old, so I'm willing to let that slide, really.
Well, he didn't botch and Cody let him hit a powerbomb on him. I'll just run you through the match. Yeah. Shaq and Cody, I believe, started out and they did a little bit of wrestling. I was pleased to see that Cody, to begin with, started out wrestling Shaq when they were doing a little bit of, I don't want to say chain wrestling because it was barely that, but they were doing the arm twists, the starting out, and I was pleased to see
it was
that
like
they didn't
Goldberg versus Regal.
Yeah, they didn't have...
One of them's doing chain wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have Shaq out-wrestle Cody. They had Cody out-wrestle Shaq briefly, and then Shaq powered out with his sheer power. So them two wrestled up a little bit. Shaq got the upper hand, I believe. The women tagged in. Red Velvet came in with an impressive series of strikes. Then Cody seemed to be working this match heel, starting around the halfway point of this match, because he kind of went after Shaq with a kind of cheap run-in, and then Austin Gunn hit Shaq from behind with a chair, which was weird to me, seeing as Shaq and Jay Cargill have been working this entire feud heel, and the Nightmare family come and try to just gang up on very much heel tactics.
It was super odd. I did find that really odd, because then it's like, normally the heels are it's the heel side who attack someone near the edge normally, and then suddenly the face side is doing it, and I was like, okay,
Then Jade Cargill gets a table out, and I think Red Velvet got a second table out. I didn't quite buy that this Jade Cargill Red Velvet feud is hot enough for tables for them to want to go for the tables, but as we saw in the end, it wasn't actually for them. Shaq hit that powerbomb we talked about. Cody slammed Shaq off the ropes, didn't he, in a bit of a Hulk on Andre moment, and it wasn't a huge slam, but I mean, Shaq is huge, isn't he? Like, I'd kind of forgotten how big he was. Yeah,
definitely. I don't know how tall he is. Like maybe as Paul White or Great Khali or so. But
he's about the same height as Big Show, I think, because I seem to remember that from their actual matches together.
Okay.
But he's huge. I just know he's a huge dude,
Yeah, and then obviously we saw Cody put Shaq through the tables. Red Velvet used Brandy's finisher, a spear. That shows how much I'd seen Brandy. They had to clarify it was Brandy's finisher, the spear. I was like, oh, was it? The camera missed it. The camera missed this.
They botched it again. Yes, yeah. It's so annoying. Like the director directly, the first thing I said again, who the fuck is directing that? Because it always at some match in the show, like at one important point, they're going to the wrong camera. And they need to fix that, really. That's still the thing where they're really bad at.
I think Tony Khan needs to sign Kevin Dunn, maybe, from WWE.
Don't put that energy out into the world. Yeah, it was weird, because it was a false finish as well. So that was at that point in time, we were led to believe that was the finish, and they just missed it. Do you know what I mean? So obviously it wasn't the finish. Cargill, it was a near fall. Cargill hits her finisher, and Patrick, you might be able to remind me, because I've forgotten, who was it on our podcast that for a couple of weeks in a row, maybe even 3 weeks in a row, has been saying that Jade Cargill will pin Red Velvet and that'll be the finish of the match? Who was that? Who was that person?
It sounds like it was me, I think, but
You've not been on our podcast 3 weeks in a row.
Well,
only your second
I probably tweeted it or something.
I don't know. Was it me? Was it Jack? To be honest, I really don't know.
It was me. You don't listen to anything I say. I've been saying that's definitely how this match is going down.
What?
You've stolen my moment, and you will pay.
I didn't realise that's what you were doing.
See, even Hugh got it, Patrick.
But he's listening to it. I'm here while we are doing it and not re-listening to it, so I'm just responding. So
you don't listen to our show.
No.
You just outed yourself.
I don't fake it. No, I'm here.
I don't listen to my show either.
What is
just a funny thing, like how tall Shaq is. Do you remember that meme? There's he's going out with his new girlfriend. She's like 3 heads smaller than him. And
I was actually going to bring that up myself.
Yeah, right. And then there's a hamster who tries to put a whole banana into his mouth. Yeah. So that's everything.
A woman shouldn't be alive. I actually did like this match as well. I'm with you. However, I actually started keeping a tally of how many times Jade Cargill taunted, unique taunts as well, not the same one. And I don't mean just taunting towards the opposition, stopping in the ring to do first she did a weird, I can't even describe it, like a mini dance sort of taunt, and then she started doing press ups, and then she did the flex, and then she did I've got it down here, six times she stopped to taunt at the camera. I thought that was kind of overkill. Wow. It almost reminded me of
maybe
Sorry, go on.
sorry. Like maybe like somebody's playing a video game because. When you
Oh,
were
fuck
taunting,
you! Fuck you! I was just saying it almost reminded me of... What? You can't just cut me off in the middle of a joke and say the
Sorry.
joke. That's really poor form.
No, he just did.
2 times now, and we're just 10 minutes in.
I miss Jack.
I remember in SmackDown, if you kept pressing the taunt button, it would like gradually go up, even if you hadn't finished the taunt. Maybe she was going for that.
That was the joke I was trying to make you.
That wasn't the joke.
It's
you were
ruined
trying to
now. There's a position opening up, by the way, just incidentally, for a new co-host on this show. It just came up 30 seconds ago. I'm messing with you.
I'm far too cool for that, so you need to get someone else, I think.
I wasn't asking. You were dunking on me too. You were stealing my thunder too.
There must be an American coming because the British people never got it like beat the Germans alone. So
wait! I don't have my siren. We're not supposed to talk about that. That's one of your forbidden topics.
okay.
Oh, wait,
Did you load the soundboard?
I don't have my soundboard up. I also don't have a siren sound
on our own.
Yeah, with the if there would be a VAR back then we still wouldn't have won because the VAR doesn't see shit.
I don't have a siren sound. I really need to. I have.
You don't have a soundboard there.
I have a soundboard. I just don't have a siren sound loaded onto it. I mean, I could tell you off with the beginning of the Big Show's song. Shut the fuck up, Patrick. That's how we'll do it.
Okay.
That's fair.
Well, yeah. I actually I've just told you shut the fuck up. Now I'm going to ask you for your opinion because you said you like this match. I like this match. What was your opinion on this match, Patrick?
I'm not saying anything anymore. You offended me. I'm going home.
It didn't offend you. Stop it.
No, just kidding. Yeah, it was surprisingly good. I think everyone expected it to be shit. Shaq was good because he did what he did. So that was fine. He also, you can still see he's an athlete. He's not walking around like a robot or so. Jade Cargill was fine for her first wrestling match. I don't know if it was ever her first wrestling match, but her first Dynamite match. And completely 100% agree with you that Red Velvet is the queen, really. Like she's so awesome. But yeah, no, the match was surprisingly good. I liked the spot. I found it like a little cringy that the Gun Club needed to involve, and I was like, oh, Austin Gunn, just keep your hands and everything out of everything.
This is how I learned that the Gun Club are in the Nightmare family.
Oh yeah, really, right? Yeah, I also didn't know that.
I thought they were
like the
in
NWO
Gun
at this
Club,
point, isn't it?
I thought they had their own
Everyone's
thing.
in it. Yeah. So it's like the NWO at this point.
I do love classic NWO when it's got every jobber and then 3 people who are good.
I mean, that's basically what the Nightmare... I mean, it's just Cody, really, isn't it? Cody, is Scorpio Sky in the Nightmare family?
No, like this other black guy.
You got QT Marshall.
I'm trying to think of the 3 good wrestlers for their version of the NWO. I can only really think of Cody.
I mean, I would argue for Dustin in a way.
Yeah, but he's...
But he does eat a lot of pins because he's happy to, because he's an old bloke, but you know.
Yeah, and then this other new black guy and Brandon.
Lee Johnson.
Lee Johnson is his name, right? And this other new guy. I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry. They just signed another new guy. What's his name again? For this, Marky Johnson, Rocky Romero, not him, no, NJPW.
I think you might have dreamt this, Patrick.
Huh?
I'm joking.
No, not
I
Rocky
have no
Romero.
idea.
No.
It'd be great if Rocky Romero was in the
look it
Nightmare
up just a
family,
second.
just in NJPW.
It's 2021, and not anything's possible.
Yeah, because now NJPW you can send people over, so maybe Rocky Romero is wearing a Nightmare family shirt in Japan.
I mean, Adam Cole was in the Bullet Club, except really only in Ring of Honor and not actually in New Japan, so
that's true,
it happens. Next up, we had Tony Schiavone letting himself into an ambulance to try and check on Shaq, because, that's a point. Shaq died at the end of this match.
Marty the Muff
RIP Shaq.
Martinez. Keep on going.
There you go, Marty the Muff. Shaq died, I was saying.
Yeah, he died
RIP
of
Shaq.
table. He died of table. Yeah.
And then
And
gets
bringing up bad video games and stuff, but that's another story.
he gets loaded into an ambulance, and then I just found this bit hilarious. So he gets loaded into an ambulance, they cut away, and then they cut back after the break, and it's Tony Schiavone assuming that this is a normal thing that people do, letting himself into the back of an ambulance to get an interview with a guy that was just comatose. Like, that's not a thing that happens. Like, what world does he live in where that's okay? And then, like some kind of cheesy horror movie, Shaq is gone. Where's Shaq gone? How is this? He's just disappeared without a trace.
So I've got a prediction for Revolution. I think Shaq's going to come back as the Yeti, wrapped in bandages.
Shockmaster 2.0.
Yeah, and just hug people like the Yeti did, you know.
Or Giant Gonzalez 2, like, I don't know, Giant Black Man, whatever.
You've said black too many times for a German on this podcast.
And I'm out.
And he's out. That's your 3. 3 strikes and you're out.
No, actually, we need 2 strikes to be out. World War I, World War II, and you're out.
That's quite scary, saying you've got 3 strikes. There's another coming.
You never know.
They're biding their time. Patrick knows it just won't.
Yeah,
tell
we'll
us.
come back out of nowhere, like a comeback like Kane or the Undertaker. But now, let's don't keep it too comedic. Let's get back to the show.
Stop talking about genocide.
I think that's the vibe here. So just in case you're hearing an echo sometimes, because you and I are at his place, so maybe that's the comedy vibes here. Yeah,
your
just
mic's
talking
muted.
to
Forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, we're in the comedy house where we do the Western Bias podcast, which is less serious than this one. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so actually next up after that, it was Pac and Ray Phoenix versus John Skyler and D3. I don't think I saw this D3. I don't think I saw the camera on him through the entire match. I can't
literally
remember.
the same. I said to Patrick, because I missed the start, I said, is this a 2-on-1 match? And Patrick said, no, the other guy's just
2-on-1.
out. And I was
2-on-1
like,
match
okay.
against the jobber.
Yeah, well, because they used to have 2-on-1 tag matches, I remember, but they tended to be like The Undertaker versus 2 of the smaller people from DX. But
Started very fast. Pac hit a 450, and then Ray Phoenix hit a finisher I forgot he had. That was the match. It was a cut and dry squash match, not even an AEW squash match. It was a WWE squash match. Yeah, I mean, I have been calling for faster squash matches. I was kind of hoping a little longer than this one. You can never please wrestling fans. I'm hoping for like 2 minutes. No, this was about 2 minutes. Okay, I don't know what I'm hoping for.
It was 2 minutes, I think. Like
It was maybe just under 2
No,
minutes.
1 minute 11 seconds.
Oh, there you go. Much
there you
under
go.
2 minutes.
You were 49 seconds short of.
Okay, yeah, of perfection. I need a 2 minute squash match. That's what I'm asking for.
But to be honest, this is like how the whole show felt in the end. Like, it felt very rushed, the whole
Very
show.
rushed.
It was
There was about
very
three or four
rushed.
times when they were clearly not budgeting time well production wise, because I remember, okay, without giving away too much, I remember there was more than 2, but the 2 I remember off the top of my head was Tony Schiavone coming out with an interview with Paul White when other people were still leaving the ring after a match, and I won't say who because again we're going to talk about that. And the main event. After the main event, the events that ensued after the main event seemed incredibly rushed as well, and took a bit of shine off the finish, in my opinion. But yeah, it was plagued with this issue throughout the whole show. So seems AEW is still not budgeting their time fantastically.
And the directions.
Really not
From
much
the
more to
director
say
of the
about.
camera.
Really not much more to say about this. Really not much we can really say about this this match, is there? Pac and I still don't like their music.
It was
Death
fine.
Triangles. I still don't like Death Triangle's music.
No, I don't
have to cut
really
that.
remember their music at all, so I assume
Because they're having a Linux there. I think that's
Linux is the best. Shut up.
it's really good.
It's the best.
Next up, we had the Inner Circle press conference. One thing I wanted to point out was they came out to Judas, not Judas/MJF's theme mix, but still had the mixed video. I just thought that was quite interesting.
Maybe they worked out it sounds shit.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. Yeah, we had Dasha Gonzalez hosting, and she opened up the floor to the press, 2 of which were from the same place. I can't remember what they called them. Barstool Sports, that was it. And the first guy, his microphone didn't work at all, so we didn't even hear what question he asked.
Another one goes to the real good production quality or value.
Yes.
So funny.
And the other 2 were Conrad Thompson and Eric Bischoff. First off, Jericho kind of listed his tag accolades to the guys from Barstool Sports, and said that MJF was better than all of them, better than The Rock, better than Big Show, Dwayne Johnson and Paul White. And then Conrad Thompson came out. MJF called him turkey tits.
I remember that from their like Twitter feud, they have like every once in a while just writing back and forth like really mean insults or so to each other. Mostly, of course, MJF, but
does MJF and Conrad Thompson, do they have?
Yeah, he's doing that every once in a while, like commenting on tweets or retweeting and like, Turkey Tits is doing some fundraiser shit again. Don't support this shit. So some stuff like that. He's doing that every once in a while. So I knew the insult Turkey Tits already.
I didn't, to be honest.
But it's good, right?
I don't listen to Grilling JR, so my extent of knowledge on Conrad Thompson is that he's married to the other Flair, the other Flair daughter, and is
I didn't even know that. So there you go.
No, he's Ric Flair's
the one
son-in-law.
which doesn't look artificial. So,
yeah. Anyone got any thoughts on this segment? It was funny. I liked it.
It was alright.
A lot of sound bites from MJF, I thought.
Yeah, like I thought it was funny enough, but I don't know. Yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was alright. Like,
they claimed that their attack on Papa Buck was self-defense.
Yeah, that was
how
quite
they backed
funny.
it up. A couple of quotes from MJF. He called the crowd "disgusting paws," using "paws" as a noun.
Yeah, I like that.
He referred to Matt Jackson as malnourished Matt, and Nick was "wish my hair was thick Nick" also.
That was awesome, really. That was really good.
Anyway, at the end of it all, they obviously were pissing off the Young Bucks way too much, and the Young Bucks came out looking incredibly ticked off, darn pissed. And Nick spoke briefly, and then Matt cut quite an emotional promo about how much he loves his dad, and how MJF and Jericho's dads clearly didn't do a good job. Failed them. Then went on to say that without Papa Buck kind of, inspiring them and their attitude, that MJF would be at home with his parents waiting for a call from the Rosie O'Donnell show. And that, what was he said about Jericho? That Jericho would be curtain jerking at the Performance Center was his exact words, I believe.
That was really good.
That was brutal.
Yeah, right.
I like that. I think they're overusing the Rosie O'Donnell thing now with MJF.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
They're doing that. They did
because the acclaimed referenced that a couple of times. I think.
Yeah, and I think everyone who knows that, really knows him. Like who's a little more into wrestling or indie wrestling, whatever. They know about this stuff, and they are picking on him with that.
Plus, it's a shit insult in the sense that he went on as a kid doing opera singing or like show tune singing, right? And then he gets named Best Musical Performance by, was it like the New York Times or something like that on the Television Awards of the year?
TV Entertainment Live, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so how is that an insult that he went on doing that and now he's won a fucking award for it, like from a kind of prestigious newspaper? It's kind of like it's not really an effective insult. Then Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson came out and brought some tables with them, and the Young Bucks annihilated Santana and Ortiz. That
was great.
Nick jumped off the Titantron and Matt off the stage, I believe. Thoughts? Other than Pat and Hugh, who said it was great, but
so like when Matt landed, he really looked like he'd actually injured himself to me.
He's so good at selling.
Yeah, but for a second I was just like, if Matt's actually injured and they've just done this really good setup for a match, and then they had to go, the Good Brothers are subbing in for the Young Bucks.
I was just about to ask you who would sub in for Matt Jackson if he got
injured. I don't know. Maybe Kenny.
How would you book that, Patrick? Just as a fun little exercise, if one of the Bucks got injured.
Maybe really like the Good Brothers jumping in, putting their Impact titles on the line. Maybe that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
I found it also quite, to be honest, quite weird that they came out and put out the tables out of nowhere, or not real like a build up or anything, because before it was always build up that Don Callis is backstage with them and Kenny, and so now they're just coming out doing that and leaving mostly again without doing a lot, just putting up the table. I think Carl Anderson was holding I don't know, it was I think it was Ortiz holding him on the table, And that's just it. There was no like interaction. It was more like, okay, now it's a help, but we want to help you. I'm not really sure. So yeah.
But
the announcers didn't sell it. They sold it like it was such a mundane thing. And here are the Good Brothers coming out. It was like a snooker announcer. The way they kind of announced that the Good Brothers are out there to help out.
But I think it might be like we mentioned earlier, right? Like that Kenny and John Moxley weren't there. Maybe they're also leaving Don out of the way until the show in case whatever they're shielding for whatever reason. So then,
I think they are shielding.
They didn't know how to sell the Good Brothers coming out to save them without just doing it in a boring way. I don't know.
But if it was part of the block of episodes that they filmed all in one go, that would make sense to me. That they it'd be an oversight in production that they came out and they forgot to kind of hype it as if it was the first time they were seeing them that night. But this went out live, I think, this episode.
Yeah, definitely. There was audience there. Like they cut to them several times to show the people and reactions and signs and whatever. So yeah.
Because during pandemic times, it's actually a very big deal, bigger deal than usual, that someone from another company would be there because of the logistics of having them there. Do you know what I mean? So every time the Good Brothers are there, they should be big in this. Like it's. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a big
deal. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I know, I make a lot of those.
Wait, are TNA events are happening in Orlando, I assume, right?
No, they're, I think they're in Tennessee.
Are they? Okay. I thought. So, do they not have the Impact Zone down in Florida anymore?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they're emanating out of Tennessee at the moment.
Yeah, because I know the company's based in Tennessee, but I thought the Impact Zone was like Universal Studios or something.
No, well, I mean, it used to be. Obviously, the Impact Zone used to be. At
Universal like
Studios.
A while ago, right? Like it's moved, maybe.
But it's been bought out by a Canadian company, and that was officially a Canadian / American promotion. So
Can American wrestling.
Yeah, Can American. I like it. Moving on from that, we had a Moxley from a Moxley. We had a Moxley from John promo. We had a promo.
Moxley, we have a Moxley here. See, no one cares.
We have a promo hyping John Moxley versus Kenny Omega in the exploding barbed wire match. I think the standout from this is it Atsushi Onita? I think it is the kind of Japanese deathmatch innovator was in this. I don't know, were either of you aware of him before this or?
Sorry, I just looked up there. They are in Nashville, Tennessee, like you said before. So, but it's like I was first on the German Wikipedia, and this said like Universal Studios, and still I was like, that sounds weird. But no, I don't know that guy actually. But it's funny that they brought him into the game a bit, like to show a little bit this tradition, and they had some old material of these really weird matches to bring people in who are not familiar maybe with that. I know this is a little like very, very special, let's say, subgenre of wrestling itself or match category itself, like also like the CZW Tournament of Death or so, which not a lot, even like big wrestling fans who are watching it weekly are aware of. But I think it's also nice that they, like I said before, that they introduced it a bit, showed a little bit the history of it, what's going on there. Having this guy on, I forgot his name. You have to tell me again. I'm bad with names. Atsushi Onita. Okay, good. I think like in general, like we had that also in our wrestling group yesterday, talking about it a bit. It's something special that they're putting up a match like this, which not everyone might like, but I think it's a special attraction. Maybe if they do it once or so in between, and you have these characters who directly or really, really fit into that thing because they have this thing that Moxley is a dangerous, brutal guy, and Kenny is just a crazy motherfucker now. Like he's behaving. So yeah, I'm interested in the outcome. Like I'm a hardcore fan. I'm really looking forward to that match. But I like this build up really.
Would you like a brief history lesson on Atsushi Onita? As I say, we don't just come to laugh; we come to learn.
I would love one.
I knew you would. So he originally started his career early to mid 80s. He was picked to be the ace of the AJPW's All Japan Pro Wrestling's junior division. So you know how New Japan have their junior division. They were kind of. I read about it earlier. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. They were kind of like paling in comparison to the kind of New Japan Pro Wrestling junior division. But then he had this feud with Chavo Guerrero Sr. and they got all these titles involved in it. Like Chavo brought an NWA title over, and they had the All Japan Pro Wrestling kind of junior title. And yeah, he ended up retiring the first time because of an injury, and then he had a failed comeback in All Japan, and was let go again. I don't know if this time was due to a second injury or whether he was just let go because it was a failed comeback that he didn't get over so well. He was replaced as the ace, and then he challenged a martial artist called Masushi Aoyagi. There you go, Masushi Aoyagi. And he got it was in a legitimate shoot fight in a kind of karate. It was some sort of martial arts fight. But he actually got disqualified from the match due to using wrestling moves in it. And he kind of held a grudge about that, weirdly, and then challenged this guy again, this same guy to. I have to think. I mean, just from reading about it, it seems like a work, or he intentionally got himself disqualified so that he could set this up. But based on the back of being disqualified from this shoot fight promotion match, he challenged the guy again to two death matches that he'd seen in Memphis, because death matches came from Memphis, and he was the guy that brought it over to Japan and made it infamous in Japan. So he challenged this guy in these two kind of really extreme kind of death matches, and they 50-50 booked it. The other guy, this martial artist guy, won. I don't want to say his name again. Hold on, Aoyagi. He won the first one, and Onita won the second one. And those two matches became FMW, which is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, which was a big deathmatch promotion in Japan. And the rest is history. Actually, the rest is very interesting. So he's had about... I won't go in any more into his wrestling career because we're short for time, and he's had about 1 billion different retirements, like every other hardcore wrestler, not naming any names, Terry Funk. So... yeah, he's his most recent appearance was a couple of years ago, actually, and he's he's in his 60s now. But anyway, he then went on to have a political career, like Antonio Inoki did. I've just got this bit I don't know off the top of my head, so I've pulled up his Wikipedia. Though he originally dropped out of high school, Anita returned to finish his education when he was in his late 30s. In 2001, he won the 19th House of Councillors election as a representative of the Liberal Democrat Party, following Antonio Inoki and Hiroshi Hase to a seat in the Japanese... You all know this, Japanese diet?
I'm afraid I actually don't know that.
Oof.
I would, but I'm afraid I do not know.
That Asian studies degree, not going to...
Well, I was Chinese and Korean, so I guess...
It's the other Japan.
The other Japan. One of his first major acts in office was to launch a post-9/11 humanitarian mission to Afghanistan, where he performed professional wrestling matches in crudely constructed rings made of sticks and rope to benefit the children. This was all documented on film. And this bit's quite interesting, depending on your definition of the word interesting. Like fellow professional wrestler Scott Steiner, Onita has also claimed to have broken Will Chamberlain's record of sleeping with 20,000 women. Coincidentally, his exit from politics was forced by a sex scandal, in which he was alleged to have used government accommodations to host a threesome with a pornographic film actress and female employee of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transportation. I don't think they know what the word coincidentally means, because I don't think it's a coincidence that a man who's claimed to slept with over 20,000 after retirement from politics, he lent his name and image to a Nintendo DS game, Atsushi Onita's Political Quiz. What a life that man's had.
It's maybe it just has one category and just name all the women I've slept with. That's the whole game.
So I do have an Asian Asian update. In English, it's called the National Diet or whatever.
Diet, it must be. It can't be diet.
But in Japanese, it's called kokai.
I like how you openly admit that your degree was in Chinese and Korean, yet you're trying to pronounce things very Japanese.
Right. You got to say it flat. Anyway, but in Chinese, it'd be guohui, which means country something. Hui means a different thing in Mandarin. Anyway, so I don't know why we call it the National Diet or Diet. I have no idea.
We'll have to become an OWE podcast, Oriental Wrestling, whatever they're called. I can't remember what the E stands for. Entertainment. Yeah, that's very Fed. That's very Vince.
It'd be better if it was education.
then we could get some hot takes from you. But yeah, I thought that was it was a very interesting man. I had to look into, and once I got reading, So I don't know. Maybe they'll get him back. I doubt it, but it's not. I like.
Thank you for the history lesson, but amazing, really. That like his political career was ended because of sex scandal. That's so.
I just like that on Wikipedia they said coincidentally when it's clearly not a coincidence that this man had a sex scandal. I would say it's a certainty. Do you know what I mean?
Did you say he was a representative or a councillor though?
I think I said a councillor. Yeah.
There you go. He's in the House of Councillors, which is apparently the lower house. So he was
just like Congress people in the States
he
rather
would be
than
a
senators.
but apparently he would be a representative though, because the representatives is the lower house in America, but in Japan it's the councillors. What?
Yeah, I know.
Politics.
We're getting highbrow on this podcast now. Next up, we had Jurassic Express versus FTR and Tully Blanchard. What did they say? 31 years or 30 since he was last in the ring? 30 odd years anyway.
Not long enough.
They came out with JJ Dillon, former manager of the Four Horsemen, which was a nice touch. And a nicer touch was that Tully Blanchard was wearing his old.
Now we got
US
we were asking who was JJ Dillon. We didn't Google it, so thanks for that.
I'm going to give you some more history now in a sec. He was wearing the old US title belt. Now, this is breaking kayfabe, which someone somewhere, maybe Jim Cornette, is going to bust a nut about. The fact he was wearing it, because that title was allegedly destroyed by Nikola Koloff in a brawl with in something like 92, early 90s, it might have been 91, with he had a brawl with Lex Luger, and he repeatedly smashed it into the ring post until it shattered, and then they replaced the title. So clearly it was not actually destroyed, and so 30 years later they're busting up WCW's spot.
Oh, well, I can see the vein on Jim Cornette's forehead.
I know.
Just going.
He should have been kept out of the public eye all that time to preserve the secret. But yeah, I was interested to who had that title now, and I don't know who actually owns it. But maybe Tully Blanchard owns it. I don't know. They actually mentioned his match against. Was it Magnum PA? Is he called? Not Magnum PI. Magnum PA. Is it Magnum PA? Yeah, Magnum TA. Magnum TA. I knew that wasn't right. Magnum TA. He had an I Quit match. It was an I Quit cage match actually, and I have actually seen that match, and it's brutal for its time. I'd recommend going and watching it. But yeah, no, Magnum TA, and I'm upset that I got his name slightly wrong because I have actually seen that match. It was Starrcade '85. And it was an I Quit match, but Tully didn't say I Quit. It ended due to a referee stoppage because Magnum TA drove something into his head. I think it was like a piece of wood from a shattered chair leg or something like that. It was, but yeah, for '85 on WCW, it was by today's standards maybe not so much, but it was pretty brutal.
It was a true kind of. Was it like a Dusty Rhodes style? Everything's covered in blood kind of match.
Maybe not that much blood, but. Let's talk about a match that actually occurred recently rather than 35 years ago. What did you make of this match, Jurassic Express versus FTR, Hugh?
It was a good match. I liked a lot of it.
I loved it.
I did spend a long time being like, I don't want to have a go at Tully Blanchard. He was a great wrestler, but this seems sort of pointless having him actually in the match. I did feel that way a bit, but he did all right. He didn't do badly, I would say, but there was just a lot of me going, this seems strange. Like
he teased that tope at one point, didn't he? And
yeah.
The announcers seemed genuinely concerned. No, and then he just did his little Ric Flair walk.
I love that he only actually did moves to Marco, pretty much.
You would.
He's like, we don't want to pull his back out, so he'll do the suplexes on Marco's stunt and that kind of thing. But then at the same time, he did all right for his age and the fact that he hasn't laced up for so long. And
he hit a thing on Marco. He hit what's it called?
Like a suplex where he bounced his legs off the rope.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I forgot what. Someone's going to be upset that I don't know what it's called, but
well, that's me.
I don't have Twitter, so they can't get me. But I generally liked the match, but I did feel a little bit like I don't want to have a go at Tully Blanchard for being old or anything, but I'm a bit like, why are they inserting him into it? Like,
how dare he get old?
Yeah, I know. But it did feel strange.
The audacity of it.
It did just feel like a strange insert in a way, but I don't know. I think it just about worked.
It definitely worked.
You know, I think the match was definitely good. Like, everyone in the match did pretty well, especially
full of some fantastic spots.
Yeah.
I think Luch,
they still call in Dax the Axe because they haven't apparently listened to the podcast and started calling him Hatchet Dax, which is clearly better. But you know,
was that when we talked about that when you were on the podcast last?
Yeah, I was like, he should be called Hatchet Dax Harwood. It's a better name. And
I mentioned that Dax the Axe is actually an established indie wrestler.
Yeah, I also sent that to him on Instagram. I messaged him saying, I said, you should be called Hatchet Dax, not Dax the Axe. It's better, and he didn't read it. So, but yeah, no, I like the match. Generally speaking, I did still not think Tully was great, but I don't know, he can still hang a little, and it was fun, and everyone else in the match was great.
He's not been in the ring for over 30 years.
Yeah, I know, right? So that was pretty impressive, you know. But yeah, yeah.
No, I thought this match was full of it. I loved this match. I thought it was full of some great spots. Luchasaurus hit a double German suplex, and one of FTR was holding the other of FTR around the waist, and he hits 470 pounds combined, apparently, according to the commentary team. So that was something. There was a really nice kind of Rana into a kind of body slam from, I think, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Yeah, lovely tag moves. There was a point where Marco Stunt did a kind of frog splash onto, I want to say it was Cash while he was bridging. He'd done a pin with a bridge, and Marco splashes into the ring and like looked brutal. That looked brutal.
Yeah, I think he did a tiger suplex or a dragon suplex into a pin. Yeah. It was Cash.
Yeah. Patrick, thoughts on this match?
Not that much to add. I also liked it. Like, in general, it was really good. It was really also a little bit like with the Shaq match, a little bit concerned. What will be the outcome of it? Like how will Tully Blanchard look in the ring and everything, you know? But then in the end, they just also did it properly using Marco Stunt for it. If they're showing bigger, or he can show bigger moves. Yeah, and also the combinations you just mentioned, or what you mentioned also, that was just really good, really above my expectations, because I didn't have any for that. I was like, okay, how can somebody be who hasn't been in the ring for 31 years and is just old now? But yeah, in general, like, it was full of surprises. Like, I cannot add a lot to it. I can just say the outcome of the match, it was a surprise. I was also happy that it was like a dirty finish with this interruption. That's just great for the team, you know? You know that they can win a match without this dirty deed stuff, like, coming in between, but it's just nice.
We'll talk about the finish afterwards, because it included a medium-large return. But I do actually, as much as I praise this match, and it was actually my match of the night, sorry, spoiler alert for later, I did have one glaring problem with it, and that was that, okay, so Jungle Boy, I believe, it was started against Dax. I think it was Jungle Boy and Dax was the ones who started out. And then shortly after they started the match, Jungle Boy exits the ring and puts the, what's his submission called? The something trap, the trap. Help me out here. Snare trap. He puts the snare trap on Cash on the outside, and Cash taps almost immediately when he's completely fresh. Like, I mean, obviously the tap doesn't count because he's outside the ring, but it's the first move he's had put on him, and this guy who's established kind of big deal in tag team wrestling is tapping with immediately the first tag move he gets put on him. That was a really weird choice for me. It made him look incredibly weak. I don't know about what you thought about that, or whether you picked up on that and noticed it at all.
I mean, I noticed him tapping early, like straight away, and I was like, it doesn't count because it's so early because he's outside. But I guess I didn't think of it in that way. But I think that's a fair.
But got a question: the fact that if he was in the ring, that would be match over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're tapping outside the ring.
I think they're trying to sell the move then. Like, they're just maybe trying too hard to sell.
Yeah,
the
because
move.
he already put it on. He launched straight into it and put it on on Dax shortly before that. So they're I think they are trying to like make out. Yeah, Jungle Boy has this submission finish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it's like that. I don't know. There were definitely matches with Chris Benoit, who shall not be named, where there was like, if he gets the crossface on you straight away, that's over. Do you think they're trying to turn it into a crossface of this generation or something like that?
maybe. Speaking of Jungle Boy.
Speaking of Hall of Fame, no. They said some Hall of Fame worthy materials coming.
I don't think he's the one coming back signing a contract somehow. They came. Jurassic Express came out to Jungle Boy's music, which we thought we called out that they were just reserving that for Jungle Boy, but it seems like they are using it for Jungle Boy and Jurassic Express as an entire team now. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Patrick.
I first thought it was weird. When did we talk about? Like 2 weeks ago, was it? I think already. It was 2 weeks ago already. I think, or 3 weeks. I don't know when they came out first, and we talked about that. If they just using it now to build up Jungle Boy more or better as a singles wrestler. And now it's. I don't know if it fits the group then itself. Like I love that it's just for Jungle Boy because then he gets his own identity. JR calls him Jack Perry. And that's, it, like he has his own identity, but now mixing it up with the group again, it's a little weird. I don't know. I like the other one also because of the dinosaur growl in it. And
it sounds a bit like Jurassic Park music as well.
Yeah, right.
So it kind of like, it fit with the name because it's Jurassic Express, you know what I mean? Whereas it's not Jungle Express, you know what I mean? So
also, my other thought on that, though, was that because they came into that music, we were treated to Austin Gunn singing it again.
God. Between them
several times. Sorry for interrupting, but it was several times.
So many.
Really annoying.
Between them using it for I was so psyched when they secured the rights to this music. So psyched. Between them using it as a team theme for Jurassic Express rather than just Jungle Boy and fucking Austin Gunn, we need to talk about Austin. This guy, someone must stop Austin Gunn. Like. Something must be done. There's a point. I can't take it anymore. I don't like it. I don't like it. Make it stop.
Yeah, me neither. I also, I really did not like in the first match when he interrupted there. I was like, just do it. Just really... I think that was on my cue, but okay, very good. On my mic, okay. But yeah, it's just really this guy. Like we talked about it like a few weeks before, or maybe last week. It started all good. You're like, yeah, that's really nice if somebody is just cheering up the crowd. And then now in this show again, where you have a crowd, he's just doing it all the way over. Also with the that's also one thing that they just played. Chris Jericho's Judas version, like standalone without the MJF mixture. I think they just did it for the crowd to sing with them and having this moment again where I also got a little bit annoyed again because it's the same people all and all over again going all in for that song. You're like, we get it. Just do something else at one point.
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Jungle Boy's theme, or Jurassic Express's theme, I guess now, is too complex to sing as a chant. It's whoa, right? That he doesn't nail it. He just goes whoa. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And beyond that, when has any theme that fans have sung along to been something that's chanted mid-match without the music? Do you know what I mean? I mean, Judas, for example, in AEW, people will keep singing it after the music stops. Fair enough. But then they don't start singing Judas in the middle of the match. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think a good rule was maybe if you don't think, if a football crowd you don't think could sing it, maybe it's not a good wrestling chant?
Absolutely. I mean, there, in the UK there is practically no difference between football fans, dart fans, and wrestling fans. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Because they'll do hey Bailey. Any crowd can do that.
It's too much. And I mean, again, in this and in the women's eliminator tournament, which we really should have talked about before we started this, but we'll get into it at the end. He grossly misuses the Seven Nation Army chant. But anyway, back onto the match. After the match, or the finish of the match even, a cameraman appears out of nowhere and somehow disrupts the match, although it was kind of a bit janky how they made that clear, and gets in the way. And I think he passed... Did he pass off? Was it Brass Knuckles? I know earlier in the match, JJ Dillon gave his shoe.
He used the camera, like a small...
Was the camera? He gave the camera over.
That was it. He passed something like that to him, yeah.
And FTR cheated to win with the camera. Sean Spears gets in the ring with them, reveals that he is indeed Sean Spears with a new bleach blonde do.
Yeah.
And he's back, which was I actually popped for that because they've really convinced me he was gone. His profile was removed from the AEW roster page. He had started posting about being a trainer at the Nightmare Factory, and then bish bash bosh, he's on Dynamite again. Yeah.
Though his new look, I was like, he looks like the drummer from like, I don't know, Thursday in 2008 or something.
Con would be flipping out if he still watched wrestling. I'll make Con. He doesn't actually still watch it. He hasn't watched it in 2 months.
Does he not even watch ICW anymore?
Is ICW making shows?
No, fine, well.
Progress, isn't there? Crazy.
Does he watch that? Maybe he does. Who knows?
Who knows? This is how we know he doesn't listen to the podcast as well, because he's not going to call us out on this. So.
No, he's not.
What a dick Connor is.
Yeah.
Absolute bastard. Worst person I've ever met.
I prefer Celtic to Rangers. There we go.
Any closing thoughts on this match, guys?
I like the reveal that Sean Spears is back, and now also like that in the ring when they were all together, like he was with FTR actually and with Tully Blanchard, and they had JJ Dillon there, and then Arn Anderson peeked out of the entranceway, and they just showed the 4 fingers for the 4 horsemen.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, will there be a revival? And will there be maybe that because he's with Cody and they just need clearly a 4th wrestler, and that Cody might join them? Although, of course, he has the Nightmare family, but there might be a connection.
He could join the Blanchard family.
Arn was out there scouting, and what I liked is that all the others were still maintaining that, okay, he'd be wary about him because he is our enemy. Do you know what I mean? Even though, like you say, something might happen, but at this point in time, they're still rivals. They don't like him, blah, 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 and all the others. But JJ Dillon, who clearly doesn't watch the product, was like, hey, it's Arn Anderson! And had like a massive smile on his face and was clapping at him and stuff like that.
I think he did the 4 back, JJ Dillon.
Yeah, and he was clapping. He was clapping at him like, hey, it's Arn. Like,
so basically, JJ Dillon did his own private MSG incident.
Well, JJ Dillon as well, like, he's so old school. He kind of ad-libbed past Tony Schiavone when he clearly wasn't supposed to, when all the others clearly made their way like out of camera, and then JJ Dillon just stops at the top of the ramp and starts bantering with Tony
then Tony said you don't get paid extra for saying that.
Yeah, it was so quick. He was so quick. I was like, fucking right, Tony. I was like, slam dunked him. It was like quick as a snap. It was brilliant. Which actually leads us perfectly into, unless you guys have any final thoughts, I think we've covered that match. Like we all said, nothing to add. We liked it. That leads us straight into Tony Schiavone interviewing Paul White. It's so weird seeing Big Show come out. I'm still not. It's like seeing a lion in Grimsby. Do you know what I mean? Just walking around. I don't know why Grimsby.
Because it's a boring place with no lions.
Yeah. Well, I would have said like somewhere
I grew up near Grimsby, so.
Sorry.
Just
sorry.
I grew up in Scunthorpe, which is considerably worse. So.
Oh, God. No, I would have said like London, but then it could have escaped from the zoo. Do you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be as weird as Grimsby, where I imagine they can't afford a zoo.
No, they've got a sea life centre in Cleethorpes, though. There you go. That's just up the road.
I'm surprised there is marine life in Grimsby that isn't being put into tuna tins.
Well, as we're in Iceland, I should probably mention that there used to be, but we lost the Cod War with Iceland.
I like how you said I should probably mention. Like, that's really relevant to this podcast.
It's very relevant.
I should probably mention on this wrestling podcast, actually.
I'm just saying,
couldn't get through without mentioning.
Without the Cod War, Grimsby would have been like the Newcastle of Lincolnshire. But with the Cod War, it's the Grimsby of Lincolnshire.
I have nothing to say to that. Yeah. And then Paul went on to say that there is Hall of Fame worthy, we keep hearing it, Hall of Fame worthy talent coming into AEW, signing a multi-year deal. I think Tony Khan confirmed online at Revolution. In his confirmation, Tony Khan said it's true, he started with. So there's some people thinking that it's Kurt Angle. Of course, if I wanted people to think it wasn't somebody, the first thing I'd do would be to make sure they think it's somebody else. So it could very well be a red herring. Or it could just be Tony Khan's, not realising what he's done.
That's true. But it reminded me of, I think it was 1994. Hulk Hogan kept saying he had an ultimate surprise.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
people. And then it wasn't the Ultimate Warrior, it was just a bloke who looked like him. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Kurt Angle now. Like, you know.
I don't think it'll be as disappointing as that, though. I think he's definitely going to deliver on a massive star.
It'd be great if it's like Samoa Joe, but he's wearing Kurt Angle's clothes. Something like that.
I'd buy in for that. They made it very clear that there is going to be someone show up in the ladder match, and a surprise entrant in the ladder match, and a surprise tag team entrant. We'll talk about all these actually afterwards, and speculate after the show, because then we can do them all in one go. But yeah, three big. Well, there's going to be a surprise tag team, a surprise entrant in the ladder match, who is also going to be quite big, I think, and then a Hall of Fame worthy talent signing on. They're being very vague about it. Could be a commentator, could be a wrestler, could be both. So we'll see. Next up was Nyla Rose versus Rhea Mizunami in the finals of the Women's Eliminator Tournament to face Hikaru Shida at Revolution. I was reminded, as I'm sure you guys were, that Rhea Mizunami was at Double or Nothing, AEW's inaugural show. And I think they kind of knew that people have forgotten that, because they said people might have forgotten that Rhea Mizunami. I was like, I have forgotten. Thank you for the reminder. Thoughts on this match, Hugh?
It was good. I liked it a lot. I love Rhea Mizunami, and I think many people love Rhea Mizunami because she's fantastic. Like, she's got everything. She's wicked. Like, she's scary. She's terrifying, but no, she's like in a certain way, she's got that sort of presence. She's got an image. She's got a look. I don't know. I like everything about her. She performs really well. She's kind of crazy. She's kind of silly. It's brilliant, and like I thought, just the match was great. Like, it was just really good. And I'm not a big fan of Nyla Rose as a performer, to be honest with you, but I think she did good. I think generally both of them did a good job. This was
I'll say this was the least rusty that Nyla Rose has seen since she came back. She looks like old Nyla Rose now, and
that's true.
That's not necessarily a compliment, because I never rated her the highest.
A lot of people don't like old Nyla Rose.
Yeah, but she's back to pre-pandemic Nyla Rose quality, I think. Whether that's very quality to you or not, do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of people are of the opinion that she's a bad wrestler. I don't even know if I'd go that far, but I do think she is often outshined by the other female talent. Some people may disagree, but I think they just seem better wrestlers, and I think that's still true with Mizunami, because Mizunami's quite good. But I don't think she did a bad match, and I thought it was a great match. I mean, Vicky Guerrero annoyed the fuck out of me, but that's the point. But other than that, it was really good, you know.
But I mean, she must have some athleticism back, because she went for a cent. She missed it, but she went for a senton, and got some height on it. So, yeah.
I think it was, I think generally this elimination tournament's been pretty good to watch, and it was a good final match. And, I
completely mispredicted the final match. I said the final match would be Thunder Rosa versus Yuka Sakazaki, and it was their opponents against each other. Nyla Rose versus Rhea Mizunami. I will say I predicted that up until that point.
A lot harder for that match, to be fair, because I love Yuka Sakazaki and I love Thunder Rosa. But I still think this was a good match. It was a good ending, and
I think everybody thought Yuka Sakazaki, because she's actually contracted to AEW. Do you know what I mean? So I think Rhea Mizunami took a lot of people by surprise. A few facts about this match that they mentioned during the match. It was, well, not just this match, but the tournament. Her Japanese... Was it the Japanese semis or the finals? When she faced Aja Kong, I think it was the semis. Rhea Mizunami, it was her first ever victory over Aja Kong. When they met each other a lot. So that probably should have... I mean, if we'd known that, it probably would have kind of been more of a hint that she was going all the way. Do you know what I mean? Because they've had matches before. She'd never beaten her, and she did. So, and this was their first ever singles match, because Nyla Rose obviously used to wrestle in Japan. It was Rhea Mizunami and Nyla Rose's first ever singles match. They have faced each other in a 6-woman tag before, where Nyla's team was victorious over Rio's team, which also included Hikaru Shida. before we go on to the finish and the implications for Revolution, what were your thoughts on the match, Patrick, quality-wise?
Yeah, first of all, like you said, also we both said on the podcast, we completely predicted a completely different final for the tournament. We both, I think, also the three of us together with Jack were not very happy that Nyla Rose made it this far already, with being not very present in the last months, neither in the ring nor on TV. But now in the end, facing Ryo Mizunami, I can see that made sense now because she's the perfect fit, or they're both the perfect fit for each other in the ring. I think Ryo made her look a little better in the end again. So if she has good opponents, she's also really able to showcase something. She did her I don't know if it's a finisher or a trademark move again,
leg
where
drop.
The leg drop, I just don't like that move again when I saw that. It's just really unrealistic.
Ryo Mizunami's, this is her leg drop on the apron, you mean?
No, Nyla
Rose's knee drop. Okay.
Right.
So they both have guillotine. They both have guillotine drops.
But Ryo Mizunami's one is way better. I think.
Wait, do you mean the knee drop?
Yeah, he means the knee drop.
Yeah, knee drop.
Yeah, the knee drop.
The knee drop. I thought it was a leg drop, knee drop. No, the knee drop. Yeah, and like I said to you before, I think that's the first match since the last Hulk Hogan match I saw where leg drop finished the match. But. No, it was really good, and also the guillotine leg drop, like she showed it outside of the ring, like at the apron, also with this inside guillotine leg drop a little bit, where Nyla Rose's head was laying on the ring apron. That was really nice because that looked quite like a big impact. I liked also the small comedic segments in there, especially with the chops.
The rope. Well,
right.
The chops
and the chopping was also very, very good.
Well, as they put it, Satoshi Kojima-esque chops, a New Japan wrestler who I watched a match of quite recently. But yeah, I think Excalibur was probably the one that phrased it like that. And then obviously the right after that, she did the whole miming rope pulling thing in the ring. I'll tell you what I did like. One really, really good bit of kind of ring awareness and kind of, I don't know, like match flow storytelling, if you will. I don't know. Ring awareness. Let's go with ring awareness. Nyla Rose was out of the ring and made the 10 count, rolls in on the 9. But before she even rolled in, like a few seconds before she rolled in, Ryo Mizunami goes up to the top rope because she knows where Nyla Rose is going to come in. I really like that. I thought that was a really nice touch. That she, Nyla Rose only had one way of getting in the ring, and that was rolling at this one point, so she was ready and waiting on the top rope, which you don't see that a lot. I just thought that was a nice little touch. Let's talk about after the match. Hikaru Shida is clearly very happy for Ryo Mizunami and comes in the ring to present her with a trophy. I think this bit confused the fuck out of the American commentators because they were smiling throughout. And they held onto each other's wrists, but they did that very Japanese thing of trading forearms. And as I say, they were smiling. It was very much a test of strength, challenging each other, kind of banter thing, if you will. But I think JR especially saw it as like a heel turn. Do you know what I mean? Like when it happened, he's like, "Oh, what's going?" Like it confused the heck out of him. Not the first time that Japanese wrestling has confused the heck out of JR on the job. I will add, but. Yeah, I don't think he really got it to begin with, but I assume it probably confused quite a few people.
I have a personal theory with JR where he's not quite as bad as Vince McMahon in his separation from wrestling reality, but he spent enough time in the Fed where he's a bit like...
indoctrinated.
Is that allowed? He spent a long time being like, is that how... What?
No, I agree. On a serious note, I do think he's got a baseline for wrestling and wrestling standards, and that's very WWE-centric, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he was a referee in WCW back when it was Jim Crockett, I think, and then he became an announcer. I think maybe he just is sort of indoctrinated to a certain style to an extent. But still, I really like that kind of exchange of forearms. That's probably because I love Japanese wrestling, and that's just the thing they do when they're trying to show off.
Show off and see who's tougher. Yeah, no,
it's like when they do the chops and they make each other's chests bleed. Yeah, wasn't quite as harsh as that, but
I mean, Walter does that though as well. It was. I mean, this very short segment at the end did get me excited for a Joshi match at Revolution, but big but. It's AEW again. It's AEW's big thing. The one upside to Nyla Rose winning this match would have been that they have a history, and it would have been a trilogy, as they pointed out twice in the match, probably teasing it. Do you know what I mean? So that you get the quote unquote unexpected finish. This is all we have to go on for a world title match that Hikaru Shida very well may lose, because she's had it for so long and there's been such a big build up to who's going to challenge her. Do you know what I mean? That we have now possibly a title changing match at a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view, one of their big four. I mean, because the smaller ones are just little events. Do you know what I mean? One of their big pay-per-views that has a lot of expectation on it after last year. And there's no, at least to an American audience, or a Western audience, if you will, there is no background here. Do you know what I mean? There's absolutely no story here. It's typical AEW booking again, isn't it, Patrick?
Perhaps a Western bias podcast audience.
That's weird that I said Patrick and Hugh's voice came out of Patrick's mouth plugging his podcast. Try that again. It's typical AEW booking, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, but that's true. That's very well pointed out. It's the problem here is also they're missing on storytelling completely. Like, this is what goes through all the women's division now. They are really lacking of storytelling or creating any stars. You know, if they really would have like the third Nyla Rose versus Shida match, they would have some history in it. Although I wouldn't be happy with it.
I wouldn't be happy, but as I said, that would be the silver lining. Would be that there is actually history for a promo package there.
Or if Rio would have made it there, or even
Thunder Rosa as well.
If Thunder Rosa, because then, or Britt Baker would have made it there, because they can still bring in Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, intervening the match, helping Rio with it, whatever, and bring some investment in it. But now, I like Mizunami and Shida both, but there's like no history to it.
Exactly.
No build up. Like, you're like, okay, that will be just a nice match, but there's something missing, which is important also for the Western or the American audience. That's the entertainment a little bit behind it. Although AEW says they are not entertainment, but this is missing a little bit behind it, and this makes it just a sports match. Just in quotes, please, because I like these matches, but it's not what you're thinking of like a Western wrestling product.
Yeah.
Is.
No, I completely agree. And they had so many stories they could tell there. Do you know what I mean? They had so much potential for stories there. As Jack pointed out, they had Thunder Rosa cut in a promo about how she still owes a match with Deeb and how she still owes a match with Britt Baker. She's got unfinished business with Serena Deeb and Britt Baker. So they could have they'd stacked it so she could have faced both of them on our route to the final, but she didn't, and not even one of them. Do you know what I mean? So just weird. I can't really why have. I mean, I get Nyla Rose. Okay, so they want to preserve Nyla Rose for future things. Do you know what I mean? As a dominant force. So have a go over Tay Conti. I'm not happy about it because Tay Conti's on the cusp of greatness. This could have been a moment against a wrestler who's not in form. But whatever, have a go over Tay Conti. What's the logic in having to go over Britt Baker, the so-called face of your division, if she's not even going to go on to win the final? Do you know what I mean? At least, I don't know. They could have had the Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, like the ending the rivalry once and for all match as the American bracket final, and nothing would have changed. One of those could have gone through, and then you could still have Rhea Mizunami win. At least you told some story on the way. But just I don't know. Whatever, right?
Yeah, that's the bittersweet symphony in the end of a really, 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 really great tournament. To be said, like there was no bad match in it. Nothing.
Oh no, for sure.
No, everything was great, but just this outcome, you're just sitting there like. There was still more they could have done. So
the women's wrestling's been on point this year for sure. It's just
right.
You know, just like you say, slightly bitter taste left in the mouth.
Yeah, completely.
Next up, we had an interview with Sting, I believe. Yeah, from Tony Schiavone. Threatened to be another a return to Sting's boring interviews, but Ricky Starks came out and kind of addressed the fan criticism and said, last week you actually showed the old Sting coming back. Do you know what I mean? I was happy to see the old Sting coming back after you basically saying what the fans have been thinking, that you've been doing nothing, you lost your touch. Do you know what I mean? You haven't really done anything, and then kind of vocalised that. Then it all kicked off, and members of Team Taz and Darby Allin got involved. Thoughts on this segment? I mean, it's a step up from his old nothing interviews, but...
Well, I liked him beating the crap out of Ricky Starks. I thought that was fun. I don't like Ricky Starks, so there you go.
You don't like Ricky Starks?
No, well, he's good at being a heel, so I don't like him for all the reasons I'm meant to not like him for,
I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the podcast, but me and Jack have said it amongst ourselves. Ricky Starks looks like the Situation from Jersey Shore, and...
That's exactly what he looks like, and that's why I hate him.
He looks like the Situation from Jersey Shore, and... Brian Cage is a spitting image of Ronnie from Jersey Shore.
Oh, I don't know who Ronnie is. I only know the Situation, but fair enough.
Google Jersey Shore Ronnie right now.
Jersey Shore Ronnie.
While we're on,
I'm Googling it now. But I actually thought that
he's a beast as well, so it makes sense. He's like
that doesn't sort of make sense. Okay, Jersey Shore Ronnie. But I do think generally that was actually quite a good section. A good segment. Considering everything that's come before it has been a.
That's what I mean. He set the bar quite low.
Yeah, exactly. So everything that's come before it's not been that interesting. They also picked up the pace a little. I remember, because it's Sting gets him in the Scorpion Deathlock. Taz Jr. or whatever he's called comes in and puts him in a...
I completely forgot Hook was in that segment. I remember Powerhouse.
Yeah, Hook puts him in a sleeper hold. Not a Taz mission, but a sleeper hold. And then I think that's when Darby's music hit. And he didn't do a theatrical entrance. He just kind of ran in and went, oh.
This was another one of those.
I thought that was just a great increase in pace,
Well, I think it was a necessary increase in pace because just remembered it now that I see you guys nodding.
Yeah, he totally looks like Brian Cage. He looks a bit like Wardlow as well, in a way.
Because he's massive as well.
Wardlow to him.
But no, especially ones where he's younger and drunk. You can see he looks a lot like Brian Cage. I think this was one of the segments that got rushed because I don't know. The music was playing as you say, and he came and cleaned up, and then they were all on the top, and the music was still. It was just. I just think this was another one of the segments they rushed for time constraints. Yeah, I mean, if it had a positive, byproduct of you liking the ramping up in pace, then so be it. But I do think they might have ramped it up because of necessity rather than.
I just think story. I don't know. I just think either they gave themselves too long to build this up, or they overestimated how much we'd enjoy the same thing happening every week. Essentially, I don't know what it is. But I felt like there was a certain kind of. It was quite good this week. I did quite enjoy it.
Patrick, did this segment do anything for you in terms of one last gasp at getting you invested in this story before the pay-per-view match?
And I have to say a little bit, definitely way, way, way more than all the other segments. So this is also one of the segments again where I'm like, finally they're doing something. So you can really feel that the debut of Sting was maybe a little too early. Not even though at the pay-per-view it was the right stage, but building the storyline and everything was maybe a little too early. They should have done something else in between. Maybe it should not have shown him on TV. Start this build up a little later because it's now really 3 months almost since we're looking at this thing building up super slow, really, really, really slow. I think I've never seen a slower build up ever. But now, in the end now, they're cashing in a little bit on it, showing something. It's just also, of course, it's the typical you saw, Ricky Starks slapped him in the face, saying you're no icon anymore, slapped him, and then he got over him, and then the other came out, and then Allen came out to do the save, and then you're staring at him, no, watch it on pay-per-view. So it's a typical build-up, but couldn't have done this earlier, or at one other point. Yeah, or video package. That's also a good point. Mm-hmm. They're saving now Kenny Omega and Mox. Why they're not doing that with them sometimes in between, just showing some video packages or so. So because we got it's overdone. I would say we got really bored of it at one point, and then now it's getting there, but still you have this in the back of your mind that you're like, but still it has something not so good on it. Still this bad memory of this whole thing. I hope the match is good and it makes us forget about this really bad build-up.
I would say on the point of view of the video package, I agree in a way, but do you think maybe they've just realised that they don't have that much actual fighting for a video package? They haven't done that much scrapping yet. I don't know, maybe it's that.
Well, my point actually was that they have so much content that they could actually make a video package that tells a more coherent story than it's actually been. Because before Sting came along, these people have feuded so much. I'd be perfectly happy if Darby Allin never stepped foot in the same ring as Ricky Starks or Brian Cage again. Do you know what I mean? It's gone on way too long. This is like their longest rivalry, and not in a good way. Do you know what I mean? It's not even like Kenny and Mox, where they've left each other alone for a bit and then come back to it and it's unfinished business. These guys have just been in a constant state of feuding for all of recent memory, and nothing's really happened. Do you know what I mean? There's not been any massive payoff to it. As I say, I think they can make a killer video package out of this, which will kind of betray how shit it's been. Do you know what I mean? Because you can make anything look good with video packages, but which is one of AEW's
definitely like this. And also, what also got like a little left behind in the back, and people forgot about it, that Darby is still the TNT champion. So a pay-per-view without his championship on the line, just also in quotation marks, to have a street fight, which is a pre-produced match. It gives a little bit also bittersweet taste to the whole, also to the title, because people in the beginning, they were criticizing the title for the look, and then of course it was cool that Cody was defending it, and it was so present for a long time, and now it's gone for me. So just got out of touch a bit.
Cody spent all that time kind of building it up as a prestigious thing, and then especially, this is the thing as well, especially he did the whole thing defending it every week, which, I mean, some people, I know one in particular from our friend group, did not like and thought Cody was just putting himself over. I maintain it was a new title and he was trying to establish it and put the title over. Do you know what I mean? Before handing it off to someone else. But one of the downsides of that, other than some people out there thinking Cody is putting himself over, one of the downsides of that is that now, with Darby Allin completely forgetting that he's TNT champion, essentially, in comparison, it makes him look like a really weak champion. Do you know what I mean? A total non-champion. Especially not just with Cody's run and his defending every week, but also with the absolute standard that he set with those matches with Brady Lee. Do you know what I mean? Who was also champion. So, I don't know what you think. Yeah,
maybe it does in a way. It kind of makes him come across as a bit of like a paper champion, I guess. You know,
it does.
Like he's not actually defending it.
It just feels like the TNT title's an afterthought now. Do you know what I mean? Now he's had programs all of Team Taz over it, and yet they're still not giving up on this rivalry. So now the title isn't even a factor anymore. That led us into 10 from the Dark Order. Press 10 Vance versus Max Caster for a spot in the match that will determine the challenger for Darby Allin's TNT title. Scorpio Sky out on commentary for this. I thought he was acting a bit weird. He seemed to be working heel, Scorpio Sky, which was a bit strange to me, the way he was talking. Minus One also came out with... not Minus One, Negative One, sorry. I made the exact same mistake JR made. He called him Minus One and then got corrected. Negative One came out with 10. I feel a bit bad saying it, but I think it's a bit weird now, having Negative One coming out as a manager. I don't know how I feel about it.
Also later, how he's standing just in the background, just standing and directing the people. I don't know. It's fun with the kid there, and also for the kid itself. It's also funny to see, but in the end, you're just missing a leader, And then this is more like a comedic segment now. And Brody was bringing in, so his dad was bringing in this, making it a little serious more. So I don't mind him being there, but if they would put him in some context, Of course, he's a kid. He cannot show up every week, scheduled for it, working for it, like children labor or so, where you have to be very careful with. But they should maybe at one point put him into the group or into the story or for some reason in it. So otherwise it feels just like weird a little bit.
Yeah, no.
It's probably quite weird for new viewers as well, coming in and without any context of it, and there's a shirtless 8-year-old in a gimp mask. You know.
Yeah, I guess there's also the thing that, like, essentially Evil Uno is the leader.
Yeah, but there is no leader right now, isn't it? It's lacking some direction.
Now, and Evil Uno was the leader, then he wasn't because there was the higher power guy, you know, the exalted one, which made sense. I don't have a problem with that. But now it's like, well, to me, the de facto obvious leader would be Evil Uno, who already was the leader.
Kind of like,
but they're kind of doing their own. I don't know. You know, I mean, like you say, he's just a kid, and there's a reason to have him there. But it is sort of wearing thin, I think.
Kind of like how Carl Anderson kind of defaulted back to being leader of the Bullet Club briefly during transitional periods and reigns. Speaking of the Bullet Club and, I don't know, maybe up there with the Undisputed Era are, you know, two of the most over factions in the last kind of decade. What do they have in common? You know, it's very clear who their leader is. Do you know what I mean? Well, I say that, but it's not particularly clear right now whether Evil is a leader of the Bullet Club or whether it's Jay White or whether he's their co-leaders or whether he's So I've kind of immediately contradicted myself there. But no, for the most part, they've been very clear about their leaders. And right now, I couldn't tell you who the leader of Dark Order is, and that's not a particularly good thing. Maybe they're holding that spot, waiting for Hangman to join them. But I mean, at least have a Carl Anderson, and I think Evil Uno is the Carl Anderson of this group, and it should just default to him, and he should be on the mic a little bit more in the meantime. If anything, it kind of seems like -1's the leader with the way he's directing people coming out as a manager of people. And
I think that's kind of what they're going for, but then I'm a bit like, but that's going to eventually run out of effectiveness, and
they should do that.
Already has done, you know, like.
I don't think they should. I don't think a child should be the manager, the leader of a faction.
Exactly. Unless it's like the Peter Pan faction or something. You know?
Kind of is with John Silver. A little bit. He's a grown man. He's 28 years old. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, with the Bullet Club, though, like, Carl Anderson was he was the underboss, right? That was his title.
No, he was. No, the underboss, Bad Luck Fale's.
That was it.
Title.
Okay. That makes more sense. I was going to say...
No, Carl Anderson was just legit leader for, like, a very short amount of time.
Yeah, for the period between Kenny and AJ, or no, Kenny...
Or it might have been Devitt.
AJ and Devitt,
AJ,
maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But I do think it's interesting, because the Dark...
No, it was, sorry to cut you off, it was Devitt and AJ, because AJ... When AJ got kicked out, it transferred... Well, for one thing, AJ and the Good Brothers left around the same time. The Bullet Club around the same time, and also
They've been boys for a long time.
Yeah, the Reign, the leader of the Bullet Club, transferred immediately because AJ Styles was up on the ropes celebrating something, and then I think it was at a New Beginning, and then Kenny Omega came up behind him and caught him in the One-Winged Angel, and that was him deposing AJ Styles and also becoming leader of the Bullet Club at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
So that's before I watched NJPW in any kind of serious manner.
Oh, you missed good shit, man.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Like I have gone back and watched like Devitt and Taguchi matches, and they're fantastic.
To be fair, I never watched Devitt in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I got into it at. I was aware of him because there was people online posting his body painting, like, this is really cool shit. But I didn't get into it until Wrestle Kingdom 9, which was when Jeff Jarrett was putting it on in the States through his pyramid scheme. Global Force Wrestling.
I didn't get into it. Yeah, Global Force, the pyramid scheme that pretends to be a wrestling company. Yeah, but no, I didn't really get into it till we watched it together, which was 12. So Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Anyway,
before Patrick was my friend, so me and you could watch wrestling together. But
I missed that.
Will never happen again. I
missed those times. But one could be forgiven for thinking that that we're not talking about a 10 versus Max Caster match. Patrick, thoughts on this match? Preston Vance versus Max Caster.
I have to be honest, I missed the beginning of it a bit because I was when I came in on the toilet. And but then the rest I saw of it. It was okay, some kind of way. It was just okay.
I think I can sum up what you're feeling. It was the fundamentals. It was sound. There was it wasn't a sloppy match. What I would say is this was a typical sports and entertainment style match. That's what I found. I found that it was very neat and clean but there wasn't particularly any serious wrestling going on. Do you know what I mean? Which is what I expect from a good average WWE match, a match between The Miz and Baron Corbin. I don't know.
Bobby Lashley.
Maybe not Baron. Oh God. We'll talk about that after the show. But yeah, very sports entertainment-y for me. Not much to talk about it really until Jack Evans came out. Did he come out from under the ring or something? Anyway, he hit 10 with a boombox. Initially, I was quite confused, and then it became apparent that it wasn't so much an alliance with Max Caster he was after and the Acclaimed. It was Matt Hardy paying off his boys to take out members of the Dark Order and screw them over and be a thorn in their side. When that happened, I quite liked it, to be honest. I quite liked that as a move. What are your thoughts on that finish and also Max Caster going into the ladder match?
Generally, the match, I enjoyed it, but like you say, there was not that much to say about it. But yeah, it was good. I do like the kind of the bounty hunter angle they put on it at the end. I thought that was quite fun.
Yeah,
of having this idea. Sorry, that the Matt is kind of going to try and take apart the support structure behind Hangman.
Well, you should like Jack Evans because he has your exact hairstyle complete with hairline.
Oh no, I've always liked Jack Evans. Yeah, Jack Evans had one of the best. The nunchucks match in Lucha Underground is a really good match.
Obviously, we have no video on our podcast, but you could literally take Hugh's hair, put it on Jack Evans, and no one would notice the difference.
I wish I was as thin as Jack Evans and looked as much like a heroin addict, but
you're well on your way.
I used to basically look like Jack Evans. Like I was so skinny. Oh, the good old days. But no,
I see some stuff laying around you in the corners. But yeah, that's another thing for another podcast.
But I am actually a big fan. Actually, I love the hybrid too as well. I've always liked Dan Helico. I like that his gear's not shit anymore. But no, I'm kind of digging this whole big money Matt is coming after the Dark Order because they're protecting Hangman. It's got this. I don't know. It's sort of, in a way, it's sort of deeper storytelling than I'm used to. Like this idea of going, it's like he's Lex Luthor or something, or I don't know. He's Moriarty. He's like, hey, I've got a plan.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about Matt Hardy's gimmick changes and stuff, and the end of Broken Matt. I actually read an interview with him where he said the reason he switched to Big Money Matt and changed his gimmick and dropped Broken Matt Hardy, at least for the time being, is because of no crowds. Because he thought that Broken Matt wasn't working without a crowd, and it was
delete.
It was a very fan interactive gimmick. Was his opinion on the matter.
That makes sense, to be honest. Yeah.
I somewhat agree with him. I'll tell you why I somewhat agree with him, because do you remember when he was? They had like a. To be fair, this was before they had any crowd. It was in week 1 or week 2 of the... Week 2 it would have been because he debuted week 1, but week 2 of the pandemic, and they had no crowd, not even wrestlers around the ring, and him and Jericho had a really weird...
Yeah, where he kept saying delete.
yeah, they had a really weird kind of promo off in the ring where it was bizarre. So, maybe that was stuck in his head, that this doesn't work without a crowd, but there was a sort of crowd, so I don't know.
I did find it quite amusing that he comes out and he gives Jack Evans an envelope that just says $42,000 Jack Evans on it.
It did not look thick enough to be $42,000 in there.
You might as well have given him a sack that had a dollar sign on it.
Jack Evans just opens it up and it's got a Target coupon in or something.
Yeah.
Matt Sloth jogging away with his little hobble, out of Alex Marvez chasing him.
It's a voucher for $42,000 worth of stock in Matt Hardy Productions.
No, I kind of disagree with him in a sense, because surely, if anything, any gimmick is built for cinematic segments and cinematic matches. Do you know what I mean? They could have done a lot with it over COVID with cinematic segments and kept going with it. I don't think it was spent. I think he could have kept going with it, but no, Big Money Matt, it's growing on me. rolls off the tongue. So
Yeah, me too. I also like that segment a lot. Like they're building some story now and clearly putting Hangman now in the position with the Dark Order. Also, the outcome of the match on Sunday will be interesting. How this will be put in place all together. And also now I just got this idea. Maybe they're really building it up now that Hangman might be the leader, the next leader of them, without wanting to be it. But he's saving the Dark Order somehow from Matt Hardy, maybe in some way. So that would be nice.
Well, they saved him, didn't they? And now Matt Hardy's going after them. So, well, after that we had a very quick, snappy Miro promo where he said, "We've got to give the people what they want, and what the people want is destruction," which I thought was quite good. Playing on the Excalibur, hug, got to give the people what they want. Then he started speaking Bulgarian. I assume it's Bulgarian. Someone will have to translate that, because I would have loved to find a translator in time, but I only watched the show today. I was like, oh damn, if I'd watched it on Thursday, I watched it yesterday, I might have been able to find someone on Fiverr or something to translate this, or on Reddit or something. But and we could have had that scoop of what he actually said.
Could have just Google Translate do that for us. I don't know.
I wasn't going to try and work out how every word he said was spelt.
No, you can just have Google
in
Translate
the Cyrillic alphabet.
Now you can actually just hold Google Translate and hold it in front of like whoever's talking, and it directly gets the words and spits out the text for you nowadays.
I don't have any trust in
we know that shit because we're living in a country which language we don't speak, so that's how you arrange yourself nowadays.
And we love giving Google all our info.
I don't know. I'm going to go try that after the show.
Maybe it's fun.
He also one thing about I mean, it was for what it was. It was a 30-second thing with about 60% of it in English. For what it was I quite enjoyed it. Not much to say about it other than the fact that it was Miro appearing alone and addressing pretty much solely Orange Cassidy or something. It made me think again that this should be a one-on-one match. Like Kip,
I agree.
Penelope,
we should put Kip Sabian out of it because he sucks. I agree.
Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford, and even, I'm sorry to say, Chuck Taylor are kind of surplus to requirements. Do you know what I mean? For this match, I mean, maybe Chuck Taylor could come out as a manager because
he did address Chuck a bit though, didn't he? He started by saying, "Charles, I gave you
probably.
I can't remember exactly.
But, I mean, the fact that there was no Kip or Penelope, or not even any mention of Kip and Penelope, just kind of reinforces what I thought all along, that there is no reason for them to be there. You know,
there isn't.
Their wedding was kind of a vehicle for a storyline that could have been told without them. And after it's over, in the week since, they've tried to force them into it last time, but they barely said anything. It was Miro talking, and now they just cut them out completely, and it's just Miro. Doesn't make any sense.
They could have literally done the same storyline without the wedding and just said that Chuck was celebrating Miro Day, aka Rusev Day, and he brought a cake. Oh no, Orange Cassidy came out of the cake.
I think that would have been a bit on the nose, to be fair.
I would have loved it, bro.
I did like the wedding, but I just don't think they were needed after that. I think it could have facilitated a 1v1 match between Miro and Orange Cassidy, which is what we all really wanted to see, and
yeah.
But whatever. Our main event of the evening, can't believe I'm saying this, but our main event of the evening was Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn versus John Silver and Hangman Page. Thoughts on it? I won't insert any influence. I'll just go straight over to you, Patrick. What were your thoughts on this main event of the evening?
First of all, it was weird to have that as the main event because you and me were talking like, what is the main event now? Like, because I think we're all would have expected that's the Shaq match.
Yeah, we were confused.
But in the end, it was also like the match before. It was a fine match again. There were like the bits in between, especially, of course, John Silver hugging Adam Page several times, ending up hugging him or Adam Page saving him. There was a nice like this small bits of storytelling in it. Also, that in the end, Matt Hardy ran away and didn't interrupt after Hangman shot the buckshot lariat against Mark Quinn. He didn't interrupt or anything. He just jumped off the apron and was like intimidated by him. Yeah, that was interesting. but in the end, like we were talking about that later, you know why he did that now. But like for the match itself, it was like before. I can just say it on point. It was okay. It was nothing special. Just both of them being there just for their match themselves, which we were at Revolution, and yeah, that was my outcome of it. More interesting was what happening after the match.
Well, the match started with about 12 minutes left of the show, so I was like, well, this is going to have implications, and this is poor time management, and something is going to get rushed, and it did, which we'll talk about afterwards. But yeah, I felt there was some nice little kind of storytelling points that they hit on in this. With Paige was very considerate not to accidentally clothesline Silver, and they kind of drove that home, and like reinforced it on commentary. One thing I did find weird was that Silver tagged himself in, and Paige looked a little bit indignant at one point, like something was going to happen with that, but it didn't. So I don't know what that was about. Mark Quinn got yeeted a lot in this match. Like there was 2 back body drops, like in quick succession, one from both of his opponents. And then I think he got fall away slammed by Hangman as well. One thing that I thought was strange was that Matt Hardy rolled as a tag partner. So Mark Quinn was getting counted out, and Matt Hardy rolls him into the ring, and then commentary acts like this is a really heelish move, when really it's just kind of a smart move that people should always be doing, because that makes a lot of sense in a tag match to get your, to stop your partner from getting. Yeah, there's completely within the rules, and
it's not an elimination match.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you can. I don't know. Very strange. And also, while Hardy was rolling Mark Quinn back in the ring, Tony Schiavone very awkwardly called him Isaiah Cassidy. So I thought that was a bit...
Shit's racist, son.
Yeah, there was a bit of a... I mean, they look distinctive enough for you to not make that mistake. I mean, come on. At one point, I thought was quite impressive was Matt Hardy went for a twist of fate that Hangman kind of reversed into a back suplex. It was very nice. There was a lot of nice reversals in this match. As I say, that was when Silver tagged himself in, which was a little odd. But that... when he came in, he went on an absolute sesh. He, a big strike fest, very fast. John Silver can do a great hot tag. Do you know what I mean? And he comes in and he's just bouncing around and he transitioned from these quick strikes to then like a very quick brainbuster. I'm not sure I've seen snap suplex. I don't think I've ever seen a brainbuster perform that quickly. Yeah, I mean, he's a great talent, isn't he, John Silver? Once again, Adam Page and John Silver looked amazing together, as they do when they tag as a trio with Alex Reynolds. More of these, please. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, Uno and Grayson are a great tag team as well. So
yeah,
there's there's great. I mean, if I could see some sort of Survivor Series-esque match in AEW with these guys, that would make a lot of sense. Seeing them 5, that'd be a treat, I think.
We're survival season.
We're still waiting for that blood and guts.
Blood and
match.
guts,
There's
yeah. Have a blood and guts match with Dark
Oh wow, that's so long ago. Wow.
This will take also some time. They will wait for the
We
crowds.
thought COVID was going to be like 2 months. Remember that?
Anyway, as you said, towards a bit halfway through this segment, it ended with Hardy kind of chickening out and not making the save. But after the match, he started beating down Hangman with a microphone in his hand, and that is when all hell kind of broke loose. I think the Dark Order came out first, but then all the tag teams that were involved in the Casino Battle Royal at Revolution came out, and then it quite abruptly ended the show. Yeah, I mean, I think you wanted to talk about what happened after the match, Patrick, if you will.
Yeah, I like that Matt Hardy was attacking Adam Page afterwards. It was nice because this explained the abrupt ending of him just like not interrupting the finish of the match and just walking away from the ring, leaving Mark Quinn alone there. But yeah, then all hell broke loose, and just to remind us again of the Battle Royal, which is taking place then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just fine, but it was total carnage. I like that, but you could also see, like you said, like they were running out of time completely.
Yeah.
So this was
strange.
It reminded me of All In. Like always when they're running into time problems, they're like, oh, that's the All In moment again, where they had to cut the main event short because Marty Scurll and Okada were just having too much fun. Yeah.
It strangely seemed like they were running out of time all night. Not just at the end, do you know what I mean? It was like they were running out of time for the entire 2 hours, right off the bat. Yeah, weird finish, I thought. I thought it was a bit of a weird ending to the show. But, yeah, I mean, I as I said before, I think the reason Cody and Shaq wasn't the main event is because this is a go-home show to Revolution, and they've got to use a match. They've got to use a storyline that's going on at Revolution to try and get people to buy the pay-per-view. That's the point of the ending of a go-home show. But I personally maybe would have chosen a different if they. I mean, like I said, if their main event stars are shielding, then fine. But maybe end the show with the Young Bucks and MJF and Chris Jericho segment. I think I would have, because that is I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong if I'm just assuming, but I think more people are excited. If you had to rank the excitedness and the anticipation is the word for the matches of Revolution, I'm pretty sure Jericho and MJF versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles would rank higher than Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page for each other's salaries.
Yeah, I think so too. I also personally, it's just me, but I don't really care for many of the Battle Royale formats. Yeah. And when I have something that ends in a massive brawl like this and then they just go to credits or whatever, that kind of reinforces that to me. I kind of go, that's meaningless and boring. I don't really like that. That's me personally. I know a lot of people, there are people who only watch the Royal Rumble, so it's just different tastes or whatever, but I do get a bit bored with the everyone brawling in the ring kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah. It just doesn't quite work for me.
See, Cody and Shaq first actually did make sense to me, because if you're not going to have a big match last, you have it first. Do you know what I mean? That's just how you do, and then you open the show strong, and then you kind of ebb and flow throughout the night, and then you end it strong as well. And what better way to end it strong would have been than that table spot with them jumping off the the things, and then
that would have been great.
Held aloft,
because you don't need the main event to be a match if there's going to be a spot. And there was a spot, a really good spot. So.
Exactly. I mean, they've ended shows with multiple times with Chris Jericho and or MJ. Well, mainly Chris Jericho. They've always really featured Chris Jericho, but they've ended them with inner circle stuff before. Do you know what I mean? Like non-match
like
inner circle
that terrible
stuff.
Mike Tyson thing. That was the end of the show.
So and weigh-ins. They've had weigh-ins involved with Chris Jericho and I think it was Jericho and Moxley ages ago when there were still crowds. And I don't know if the debate, the MJF Chris Jericho debate. Well, no, that was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Chris Jericho and MJF.
It was Orange Cassidy.
That was it, and he
Jericho
didn't really
Cassidy.
say anything. It was a weird. It was good, but it was weird.
But I'm almost positive between that and the MJF 2020 stuff that one of them, and at least one of them, ended the show with a segment that went off the rails as they're prone to do. But yeah, I mean, that's our show. Well, that's our Dynamite recap anyway. We've still got a little bit of the show left. So, lads, what was your match of the night? Let's come to his guests first. Why don't we come to Hugh? What was your match of the night?
You know what? I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to say Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet.
It was not too controversial, I don't think.
To be honest, I am calling it Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet because that is how I saw it mostly as a match.
With some spots from a celebrity and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think generally actually quite a good match, but it might just be because they haven't showed us either of them wrestling. Well, I think Red Velvet's been on Dark, right? Jade Cargill's just not done anything. But
Red Velvet's got an incredible win-loss record on Dark.
Yeah, exactly. But genuine, maybe it's not. I'm not throwing out there saying it's objectively the best match of the night. But for me, I didn't know what it was going to be like, and it's the opening match of the night. I was like, pretty good. Lots of good spots, lots of good wrestling, lots of good ring work. It's decent. Honourable mentions probably go to the Young Bucks doing those flips, which isn't a match, but that was good fun too. But yeah.
Coming here, tearing up the format of what we give our match and segments to. God damn it.
That's a good point.
Of the night, yeah. Mine is Jurassic Express versus FTR. Really liked it. There was so many good combos and tag team wrestling, as we've come to expect from both of these teams, to be honest. A lot of creativity, a lot of and Tully Blanchard, as I think you've conceded, even though you weren't expecting very much, didn't get in the way. Which is what you know.
I would also say, if we didn't have this match, open it up where we have this celebrity who doesn't do that much, but he's there to attract people, and these two people who they haven't shown us that much of on network TV. Like, if they didn't have that context, I would probably go for that match too, because I'm a tag guy. I like FDR. I like Jurassic Express. So
Patrick, match of the night.
The thing is here is that I really don't have to say that much or add that much, because I completely agree with you that also the Shaquille and Jay Cargill versus Cody and Red Velvet was, because it was such a surprise, from the other ones. Like the other matches, of course, Nyla Rose versus Ryo Mitsunagi was also great, but I expected that somehow, because you had the whole tournament laid out before. FDR versus Jurassic Express, also good match, really, or no, not good match, a really great match actually. But the biggest surprise was the beginning. That was my match of the night, because I was just gladly surprised about everything.
So even though you're admitting other matches may have been of higher quality, is your match of the night because it surprised you, even if other matches are bad?
That's it. Because like you say with Mizunami and Nyla Rose or whatever, like maybe it's just you kind of go, well, Mizunami's always been good, but I don't know anything about Jade Cargill. I don't know. It's part of the magic of wrestling, right?
I concede to democracy, and in a 2-1 vote, Shaquille O'Neal has received a Match of the Night award from us. I feel dirty saying it.
I'm giving it to Jade Cargill. Fuck it.
It's,
Me to Red Velvet. Is that okay? Good.
I'm part of the dark anarchist syndicalist commune, okay?
which brings me on to a platform where I can vent, which I have complete authoritarian iron grip over, which is my screamer, my shocker.
There's the Maoism coming in.
It's my Reba Rebel moment. I don't know whether I call it shocker of the week or screamer of the week, but it's that time for what I consider to be the worst part of Dynamite. This time, this Dynamite was a marked improvement from last week, night and day. It was a good Dynamite. Last week was a bad Dynamite. So I don't really have any segments or matches in the whole show that I considered bad. So my shocker of the week will just go to AEW's time management. That was the shocker of the week, the poor time management of AEW Dynamite. Right.
And their live producing camera cutting where you missed the end of the first match.
Will there ever be like a shock of the week for them? I think every time there's nothing special, we can just give it to them. But we just have to wait for Revolution, like how the camera and direction will be there again.
You also have to give it to the sound engineer most weeks.
Also, sound engineer also. Wow.
That brings us to our last segment, less important shows. This might be the last time you ever hear my self-made jingle, because I've ordered a legit one. So it's such a shame Jack's not here to hear it, because it's his favourite. But Hugh, you're privileged to hear me sing my own jingle.
Please.
Wait for it. Please. Less important shows. I actually did that on a recording I sent to the Fiverr musician.
Just if he's really good, he just samples that, puts some music under it, maybe puts an auto-tune on it to correct it a little bit, and then he's sending it back to you and charges you, I don't know, 500 or so.
Yeah, like he just like triple tracks it and then puts it, like makes it lo-fi or something.
She guys, it's 2021. I think there's one major one to talk about. I mean, I've watched a lot of wrestling. So first off, did anyone watch we'll get the other one out of the way first. Did anyone watch the day one of the New Japan Cup?
Not yet, actually.
Not yet, also.
Go watch it.
I'm planning to use the login you gave me to do that soon. But
you can skip the tag matches. Literally, it's just two matches. There's
like always.
Always do.
The tag match with the not United Kingdom. What are they called? The United Empire. It's actually quite good. But if you're going to skip it, you can skip it. It's Toru Yano versus Bad Luck Fale. The one that you don't want to sleep on, Hiroki Goto versus Taichi. Watch that. Fucking dope.
I would never sleep on a Goto match because I think
No.
Hiroki Goto is
It
amazing,
delivers.
So
I don't want to oversell it, but it delivers. Seeing as no one else has seen it, we can't talk about it. Let's breeze past that and just take my recommendation.
But Goto is good, just so everyone knows.
Goto's very good. Who saw what happened on Raw?
I did. I always watch like highlights, but I saw what happened and that they just actually flushed down the Money in the Bank cash-in thing. So The Miz lost in his first title defense match against Bobby Lashley, and now Bobby Lashley is the WWE champ. That's just to sum it up. And
a week and a day. A week after Hugh, I see Hugh seems like he's learning about this for the first time. A week and a day after cashing in on Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, who is apparently like this big deal, and they want to treat well, and he's had this historic kind of domination rate. He took it off Brock Lesnar. He beat Brock Lesnar. He beat Goldberg, and then the Miz cashes in on him, and then it was for nothing anyway because the Miz loses it a week and a day later to Bobby Lashley. What do you make of that?
Okay, so genuinely, to me, that's not at all surprising because Raw is terrible. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen for them to remember that they used to be good ones.
Also, I'll put this out there. I don't know if Patrick, if you missed this, they did a bit where after the Miz was champion. I don't know if it was on that Raw. I think it might have been on the previous week's Raw, the Raw after Elimination Chamber. Otis found the Money in the Bank contract in his lunchbox, which means the Money in the Bank contract was not in the briefcase when the Miz cashed it in, which means it's an illegitimate reign, which means Bobby Lashley's reign is illegitimate, all for the sake of a gag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I talked about that last time that I saw this bit on the net. Yeah, but this is all coming together. If they are just thinking a little flash forwarding that now there might be Drew McIntyre against Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania, which is kind of a nice match when you're thinking about like both of them in the ring. But then why putting in the Miz just to have a shock, maybe to draw some attention to it, just have a little upset with the internet fans who are unhappy with everything, and then putting up his proper opponent for it. And it's just like, and then maybe Otis cashing it in. Just imagine that Otis then comes out after WrestleMania cashing it in. I really like Otis, his gimmick, and so that's really lovely made, but it's just also then a little like cringy, to be honest. Like it would them make lose their credibility even more. Like, I don't know if they still have credibility, but they're really lacking of building that in the last years.
It's crazy because it means Drew McIntyre is still champion. Like, if they are going to, especially if they commit to it and don't just make it a throwaway gag, and that they can pretend never happened, and actually have Otis actually cash in with it, or at least attempt to cash in with it, then everyone who's held it since Drew McIntyre until Otis is an illegitimate paper champion, and they're never going to address that or the absolute fucking shitstorm that has thrown into the mix. It's just, Jesus Christ, I don't know where to start with it. I don't know, this is why we don't have a WWE podcast, you know what I mean? Like, because as much as we criticise AEW in their low moments, it's the worst. I'll take the worst episode of AEW over the Dynamite over the best episode of Raw. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there is actually a thing I gotta say is like, because, like, obviously I'm just learning about this and it sounds dumb as fuck to me. But at the same time, I do genuinely not believe in just, like, if someone likes... Clearly lots of people still like Raw for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I do
Stockholm Syndrome, I think it's called.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe. That's it. But I do have a thing personally where I'm like, well, if people still like it, I don't like it, so I'm just going to not watch it and not complain. Yeah. But every time I hear about anything happening on Raw or SmackDown, I go, what? Why?
Yeah, it's confusing as fuck, man.
Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I just kind of go, oh, for God's sake.
Assuming he's not the surprise Hall of Fame quality signee for AEW, I could very much see them having Brock Lesnar sign on for a match against Bobby Lashley. That seems like a WWE thing to do, with the big man thing and big meaty men slapping meat. So watch that. To be fair,
that at least makes some level of sense.
Yeah.
No, sure. I don't know. Because Bobby Lashley's kind of a powerhouse. They've always saw Brock as a powerhouse. That sort of makes some sense. But yeah.
And that brings us to the end of our show. Hugh, it's been very nice having you. I have no.
Sorry, I muted myself, but yeah, I know it has. You're welcome.
Yeah, Do you want to plug anything before you go? Like your favourite wrestler sort?
Well, kids, this was our show this week. We're happy that you tuned in.
What's happening? What?
Anyway, I actually have this podcast called the Western Bias Podcast, and
you never told me about that.
yeah, like you don't really want to hear it. It's just really high quality comedy skits. We're both stand-ups on the local scene, and obviously stand-up stopped, so we did what every straight male comedian did and start a podcast about how interesting our viewpoints are. It's on pretty much everything that you can listen to it. Basically, Mauricio brings important and interesting things, and I mock him for finding anything important and interesting. And every now and then, someone directly messages us to say, if this show was just Mauricio, I would listen, but Hugh's a horrible human being. So,
Who said that? Who said
no,
that?
I'm making it up, but I feel like it's good publicity for us. So.
I feel like it's good publicity to lie. That's everything from us. So tune in next week. Jack will be back. I'll be here as always. Patrick might be here. I don't know. Plans change. Nothing else to do but me to sign off with a plagiarized wrestler catchphrase. So tune in next week, you stupid idiot.